Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I'm going to be talking about the patch 12.23 preview. This is probably going to be the first half of the 12.23 patch. I imagine they'll do another B patch like they did with this patch, and then we'll only have one or two patches until the end of the season. So this will already determine what they're kind of trying to do with the meta, how they're planning on shaking it up for the new season, and that will give you the best chance of climbing. So if you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe, and let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to look at is the buffs, which first thing, Zeri. This is probably going to be this is going to be the changes she's receiving, which he has posted at some other point. I would have to look that up, but we'll cover that tomorrow when we go a bit more in depth with this. So Zeri is being changed completely. Her range is down, her movement speed is down, but her overall damage I think is a bit higher, if I'm right. So they're trying to make it so she feels less skill shot ranged champ, more losing some of the tempo in the range and trade for more damage and the ability to almost, I guess, just hit harder, because right now she's really, really bad. Kind of deleted from the game. Sion is terrible at the moment. Lots of champs in the meta really, really hard beat him. Ravenous is one of his biggest issues, so that doesn't surprise me. He said that they're planning on buffing the individual outliers rather than buffing tank items, so to avoid poaching, which would be things like marksmen and, well, it would be more assassins and bruisers in this case, poaching things like Jackshot, Heartsteel, stuff like that. Right, I think Heartsteel is a pretty bad item, especially when you go higher up in the ranks. It falls off quite hard as people build correct items, Bork, Divine Cinder into it. Cho'Gath is also getting buffed, fairly similar reasons, struggles in the current meta. Lots of anti-health stacking items. He wants to go Heartsteel, but he doesn't at the same time, because it means he's only health, and he is really easy to kill when he is only health rather than resistances and a lot of health. Amumu, they're buffing again. He's still not performing great in the jungle. I'm worried this will make Amumu support broken again. We'll have to see how it goes, whether they buff his E damage to monsters or something along those lines. Shadow Kayn, so Blue Kayn, they're buffing Lethality Kayn. They seem to have an obsession with just giving Blue Kayn a random buff every so often. I don't think Blue Kayn's bad. I think Kayn in general probably got tagged a slight bit with this patch overall, but then got buffed by the more health stackers when you go red. So Blue Kayn's probably underperforming because of that reason. Maokai still pretty weak. I played him recently. His ability to stack a lot of health is quite nice, and it makes him a really good sustain bot, but then if you're against, I was only against a Bel'Veth who built Bork, but still, she won me denied because I just wasn't a tank in her eyes. So I think they should nerf Bork and Syndra maybe, and then maybe you could bring down the height of Heartsteel at the same time. So then it's just a bigger nerf to the people who build those items, but you're still rewarded building the items into things like Heartsteel, stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know how you would approach it, but there is definitely something which you're going to have to do, because right now the game's in a really bad spot where low elo players all think Heartsteel is overpowered and the most broken item to ever be added into the game, whereas high elo players, most of them think this item's kind of bad. Jackshot is probably the strongest tank mythic in the game, which is where I kind of currently stand at the moment. I think there are still opportunities for Heartsteel, Shenmue though being examples of champs which are pretty good with it. Zac also, losing Sunfire was awful for Zac. He really needed Sunfire. He doesn't feel great with Heartsteel. Jackshot is probably his best mythic by far. It'll probably be Jackshot, Lucidities. Demonics is the main combo. We'll have to see how he gets buffed. It'll probably be something along the lines of maybe more health growth or something. Yeah, we would have to see. It could also be damage, because he lost a bit with Sunfire, so it might be W base damage, or maybe QE damage. Buff his less reliable forms of damage. Tom Kench, this is the big change where they're giving him AP ratio, like huge amounts of AP ratios, and his shield is now going to be decaying. That was the changes that were shown for what they wanted to do with Tahm Kench. Malphite, losing Sunfire was pretty big for Malphite as well. He is kind of bound to Iceborne and Jaxo, doesn't really synergize that well with Heartsteel. It'll probably be some sort of, I'm going to say damage buff, maybe an E damage buff. Could also, they might get more utility with him, but I think he's already kind of utility focused. And you can't really push him even harder into the armor route because then he's really, really limited in what he can do. So it will probably be something along the lines of E damage. Yuumi, okay, I hate Yuumi. Everybody hates Yuumi. I'm still kind of surprised to see Yuumi on the nerf list. I get that she has the oppressive Q-Poke build, even though it doesn't perform as well as her support build, which, by the way, Shirelli is not Moonstone. It used to be Moonstone, but the heal going down has decreased the value of heal and shield power, so it makes Shirelli as her best mythic at the moment. But, I mean, if you go Shirelli's, it's like a 52% win rate, but it's a very one-dimensional champ. It makes sense for it to have a moderately higher win rate. Syndra, one of the best mid laners at the moment. This one was always going to happen this patch. She's been climbing up as people get better at her. Like, I were to narrow down on what her correct builds are, optimize her correctly, Liandry's, Ludens. You have a couple of choices. You can even go Crown in some games where you really need it. Yeah, Syndra's really strong, makes sense. We know this is Mordekaiser's jungle nerf exclusive, so Mordtop doesn't get hit by this. It'll probably be just the passive damage going down a bit, which sucks. I like jungle Mord, but it's really good at the moment, so it makes sense. Shyvana, really good jungler at the moment. You can go both. The jungle changes were massive for Shyvana. I stopped playing jungle a while ago, but back when I used to play Shyvana a lot, she felt kind of bad in some situations where you knew you were just going to get invaded and just lose the game because your team wouldn't cover you and stuff. But when you can clear your jungle faster, you could invading's harder and less rewarding. It's actually so much better to play Shyvana right now. Plus she has both AD, tank, full AP. All of these are really good options. I'm going to presume it will be maybe a base damage enough, so it will tag kind of everything across the board. Trundle really benefited from Iceborne in the jungle. Really, really strong champ at the moment. He can go Triforce and he can go Syndra where he needs it. Overall, this champ is just really, really good at what it needs to do. Plus, it's a tank drainer and loads of tanks are being played. So, definitely play Trundle before he gets nerfed. Lilia, this one was going to be obvious. The nerfs were hardly anything in compensation for her being now a melee champion, which Demonic Barn, Conqueror, both of these are now stronger on her, so it'll probably be her Barn going down a slight bit in compensation for Demonic's Barn going up. Kassadin, this is the change where his E is now going to be a... it no longer requires other people to cast spells. In compensation, I think they're doing something to his Q, like they're making it so it's on cast rather than hit, which I think is pretty big as like a reactionary spell. Definitely could make him appear in pro play, as it's huge into AP champs. I can't quite exaggerate this enough. It is really big. Mundo, it's the horrible changes where they're basically nerfing him a lot, and not really compensating him. His compensations is he loses like less health on Q, but they're nerfing his passive, his E, and his R. His Q is now his passive now gives him a lot less health and takes a little less away, but it's a bigger nerf than it is buff. The Q I think is going down by like 10 in health cost, which is hardly anything. You won't notice it. His E I think is going down in damage a slight bit with the amount of AD that you get from it, and his R is losing its AD entirely. So I don't know. It looks bad, and I think Mundo's gonna massively flop next patch, unless they've like changed him slightly to buff him, but back to a better point. Sunfire Cape makes sense. I don't think this item is bad. I think if you put it in the correct spots, it's really good, but it feels bad. I think we need to add the ring back, even if it's not like the burn continuously from Flame Touch, but the ring makes it so it's noticeable. You feel impactful when you're running this item. Ravenous, this one's huge. We know it's going to be a huge nerf. They've already, I'm pretty sure they've said it's going to be a huge nerf. Yeah, it's getting a pretty sizable nerf, which is very nice. This item is really, really strong. It sucks because we see some champs which like appear, which never used to really get an opportunity. Graves Lane is kind of back with this. It's gonna it might stay, but there's a high chance it goes when this item gets put down to a point where it's not like optimal to run it on him. Things like Tryndamere and Kled are also really, really good at using this item mid lane as well. If you're going PTA Kled or Tempo Tryndamere, both of these champs are really, really good at the moment. Definitely worth playing on this patch. The jungle changes, which are on the next page. Was there anything else to talk about here? No, okay. I'm pretty sure it's just making it so you get more health back during the jungle. Yeah, jungle gold is up a fair bit, but pulling gold out retreats. I think this is to stop the... There was a strategy where you could buy a jungle item at the beginning of the game, sell it, and then buy it back and have like 11 treats and then go and kill some camps, and you'd get like 550 gold. It was insane. This is to make farming monsters more generous, so we don't so you're not like out of range from them before they like run out of the cycle, kind of thing. It's bad and good at the same time, because it also means that you can't stand as far back as you once could, but I guess for worse players it's probably better, because the gap between kiting is no longer as big as it used to be. But this definitely stops double camping. There might have been an instance where you could still double camp on Fiddle, I'm not too sure, but it definitely feels like this would be something to deny. Yeah, and then I think the green smite, because it was too strong. You could run green smite on almost any champion because it was just the best. There were certain champions where blue was better. Red was definitely the weakest, but yeah. So we were objective hunting. Pinging the timers won't now automatically spawn an objective vote, which is huge because that was really irritating. Where you just wanted to signify to your jungler that you wanted the objective and not like wanting to put a vote out. So just making them aware no longer procs it, which is good. Yeah. So tomorrow I'll talk about these changes in depth when we get the full list and what we're gonna have. Yeah. Cool. Right, well, thank you guys for watching. I will see you tomorrow with the full list of changes. Goodbye.